subscribe and hit the bell icon and never miss another video.
At that point, I was not being offered films where I got to play, and I hate saying it, I was the sort of a loser or the guy who's slightly lost in the film and slightly down and out. 10 years is a genuine long time, and now I'm here, you can't get rid of me now. Now it's official. Because you can't be scared of failure and jeopardize the way you work towards your other film. Today, fame is very instant. I am very analytical about the film industry. I think we got very lucky that there was an evolving audience when we came in. I never came to a film thinking this is easy and I don't want to work hard. And I think I took my health for granted. I took my audience a little bit for granted.
Hey guys, my name is Shravan Shah and today I'm going to be having a conversation with somebody who's completed a decade in the industry. But every time he comes to the screen, he manages to surprise you. Arjun Kapoor in the house, what's up?
Thank you. This much excitement even I didn't have for my 10 years now.
I do. I genuinely do.
Thank you so much.
But I want to ask you this, Arjun. First of all, have you fathomed the fact that it's been 10 years?
Honestly, it sunk in on 11th. Now it's been a couple of days. And I chose to do the interviews in Yashraj for a specific reason, because this is exactly the place where I was auditioning and doing workshops with Habib sir and Pariniti for Ishaq Zadeh. So it sunk in quite a bit on that day when I saw my fan clubs messaging and posting and just being grateful that I was working on that day also. 10 years in is a long time. So I feel really, really happy. I was prepared for it. I was like, 10 saal ho jayenge, har saal 9 hota hai, 8 hota hai. But 10 years is a genuine long time. And now I'm here, you can't get rid of me now. Now it's official.
I don't think we want to get rid of you.
Thank you.
Because like I said in my introduction, you genuinely, and I have to say this on camera, that I think you're one of the actors that, you know, whether your film may have worked or may not work, but you don't let that baggage get onto the next film.
Never.
And I think that's one of the qualities about you that I really admire.
Because you can't be scared of failure and jeopardize the way you work towards your other films. And you can't be worried and thinking about what's happened because you can't change that. And you have to own up and learn from what happened and try harder the next time. So I think stardom, as they call it in our profession, we use this word very, very easily, ki aap to star ho. Stardom is about dealing with your failures and rising to the occasion. Success to fickle hoti hai, sabko milti hai thode der ke liye. Success, I mean, today fame is very instant, adulation is very instant, sustainability and coming out of rough patches and coming out and shining again on merit of what your talent is far tougher. So you should back yourself, not be scared. Failure to sabke paas aani hai aani. It's how you deal with it is what defines you.
Also, you know, when you made your debut, there was a vast difference in the kind of scenario around actors as compared to what you see today.
Yeah, do you
believe that?
I analyzed it then, which is a very big part of how I work. I am very analytical about the film industry, and because I'm a big fan of films, I'm a big fan of how films are made, and I'm a geek when it comes to numbers and the Bollywood way of functioning. So I also understood there was a huge vacuum of young actors at that time. When we made our debut, there was the multiplex audience was just coming into the fore. There was a newer audience developing. Hollywood films were coming in at the same time as abroad. You know, earlier that wasn't the case. Multiplexes had become more accessible. India was doing well, so people used to like going to theaters and watching films. You know, the whole notion of popcorn culture, multiplexes with air conditioning and so much to do around it, the mall culture. So there was a very young audience coming into theatres to watch films, not just the mainstream Hindi-loving audience, but also a new, younger, dynamic audience that was maybe open. So the year I made my debut was when Vicky Donor also came, Ishaq Zadeh also came, then Student of the Year came after that, and the year after that, if I'm not mistaken, was Hero Panthi, 2014, I think, 11th or 12th May only, it was 2014, I think the year 2 states released. Then Ashiki did well in 2013, which had Aditya Roy Kapoor. That was 26th April. See, now I remember dates also of films. Iron Man 3 released on the same day.
What a guy! What a guy!
So before us, Ranveer had just become a star, in the sense been accepted. And in that passage of 2010 to 2014, we had Adi, Sushant, Tiger, Ayushman, Varun, Sid, myself, and Ranveer. So there were 10 people who suddenly filled a vacuum of young actors, and I'm talking only about the men.
Yeah.
There were a lot of girls also.
Of course.
So it was a new age audience that was coming in, and there was a void of young actors, and new stories wanted to be told. So we got really lucky at that time. Audience was open. फिर उनका पेट भर गया. तो अगर आप उसके बाद देखो, then there was a little bit of a struggle to find younger actors coming in, and now Karthik has come through, and Vicky has come through, and Raj has come through. So I think we got very lucky that there was an evolving audience when we came in. Then they shut their doors for a bit, and now again I think OTT has allowed a lot of faces to come in also. So that's my analysis, that we were at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
A bunch of us, it's like the Breakfast Club, literally. It's like there was a bunch of us who managed to get some inroads into this audience. And we did all sorts of films, which was amazing.
That is what I was going to come to. That even though there were, so many people who came in, but everybody had their set of platter.
Yeah. So, and I think that's principally what happens is when there's a burst of energy of young actors coming in, there are so many stories that can be told. So everybody chooses what they feel correct about, and there's a lot of crisscrossing and overlapping also. कुछ picture है जो मैं नहीं कर पाया, किसी और ने की, कुछ वो नहीं कर पाया तो मैंने की, and we were all replaceable to some degree, but we all found our groove because of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Also, I think because you've said this, we also saw two hero films being made more than probably if they were made in the past.
I think maybe Gunde is one example.
Yeah.
But ensembles in the last couple of years, I really feel have reduced quite a lot, which is unfortunate. I think we should go back to it because I really enjoy that about films. Like I'm doing Villain now, which is an ensemble. I did Finding Fanny, which was an ensemble. Aurangzeb, Gunde, Mubaraka for that matter. So I really feel I'm maybe one of those who enjoys that. पहले यार बहुत होती थी. पहले if you see from Amit ji's time, Vinod Khanna, Dharam ji, Chintu uncle, Anil Chachu and Jagu Dada working together for so many films, Akshay Kumar, Sunil Shetty, Saif, Ajay sir, Salman bhai, Shahrukh, everybody. I mean, everybody's done ensembles and two hero films and big films, and that's what our audiences like watching. So I think when we were a little younger, I think War is the last two hero film. I think this year has a few that are exciting in terms of Vikram Vedha, Villain. But we need more of that.
For sure.
I think as actors, we all need to collaborate a lot more and make bigger films and better films for the audience.
Yeah. Also, if I go through your filmography, I don't think there is a genre that you've not been a part of. Is there a genre that you've not been a part of?
I've not done a pure horror film. I've done a horror comedy.
Pure horror nahi ki, but that horror comedy was genuinely nice.
Thank you. So, and I'm not a fan of horror per se, so I did.
Because I love horror.
Yeah, so I'm not a big like I like Quiet Places. That's horror for me, that kind.
Yeah.
That I like
more
that.
Of
yeah, I'm not a creature horror fan. I'm not like Friday the 13th type. Aaj Friday the 13th hai, but
wow. Look at the coincidence. No, but the reason I brought that up was because when you mentioned Finding Fanny, a film not so typical
not at
in
all.
the cinema.
Yeah.
Very different for the taste. And remember watching it in theatre and being like, this is different. Yeah. This is nice.
It was purely made it was made in English. We shot it in English. It was dubbed, which I think is a little unfortunate that it got dubbed at that point in time because it lost a bit of the taste of humor. I think it was dubbed more because eventually Deepika had Ye Jawani Diwani before that, and I had two states, and suddenly there was a need for dubbing it for a more palatable penetration into mainstream, but it was not designed for that audience. It still did about 30 plus crores at that time. I'm really proud of that film to get to work with Homi Adajania, who's an absolute madman, and I love being Cyrus and Cocktail. So he was somebody I wanted to work with. To work with Naseeruddin Shah and Pankaj Kapoor in the same film, to have Dimple ma'am, Deepika and myself, I think to shoot a film in Goa for 45 days was a great learning experience. I just did it because I found it interesting, quirky.
But it was.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Because as an audience also, when I was watching it, I'm like, it's not the typical film, but it's so nice.
So I'd never, at that point, I was not being offered films where I got to play, and I hate saying it, I was the sort of a loser or the guy who's slightly lost in the film and slightly down and out. I was being offered very front-footed machismo films, and Aurangzeb Gunde or Tevar or Ishaq Zadeh ka hero tha ki isko action hero banayenge. I found that very off. As a calibration, as an actor to go and do, where I had to change my body language, be a little sulky, be a little grumpy with the world. And I felt I want to push myself in another language also, because you have a director who knows that language well
Yeah.
enough to make sure that you don't come across caricaturish.
Yeah.
I took a chance, I had a lot of fun, and I'm very, very proud of that film, and thank you for appreciating it. I've met a lot of people who've enjoyed it. Unfortunately, it came maybe at a time where people expected the blockbuster pairing of a Deepika and Arjun to do a mainstream commercial film, so it didn't quite get its due in terms of commerce. But from a performance and acting point of view, I think it was very enriching.
Yeah, yeah. But does Arjun have any regrets of films that probably he shouldn't have done?
You know, I would hate to say regrets, because that means that I was not in my senses when I was saying yes to things.
Or if you wanted to change something.
I regret the way they've panned out. I don't regret saying yes to them, because I knew what I was getting myself into. You have a vision for a film when you read it or when you hear it, and when people tell you how they're imagining it, it aligns, or you're like, okay, it almost aligns, so let's see how it happens. And then sometimes the alignment surpasses your expectation. Sometimes you're like, अच्छा मैं तो ऐसे सोच रहा था, ये तो ऐसे बन रही है. And कई बार आप सोच रहे हो ऐसे बन रही है और last minute पे वो अलग हो जाती है थोड़ी सी. So to regret would be very, very, like, I hate saying I regret doing that film. That's not the point.
Of course.
I regret how it panned out.
Yeah.
And I regret, it's not only the box office part of it. I regret how the film got told eventually. And I don't want to name names.
No, that's fine.
Because that's not the point of the conversation.
Of course.
I think my learning is temper your expectations. Be a little more aware of the people you choose to work with, and be prepared for the worst rather than always hoping for the best. Don't be so naive. And obviously, you grow older, you grow a little more aware of things that you took for granted, you know, when you were younger. So I wouldn't say I regret it, but definitely I wish certain things panned out a little better. Because I got a lot of flack for some of them that didn't pan out, so I wish a little less flack would be okay.
But did Arjun take anything for granted in the past?
I don't think I took anything for granted. I never ever worked as somebody who didn't want to have the respect of the audience, and I never phoned it in. I never came to a film thinking this is easy and I don't want to work hard. I think I worked very hard.
For sure.
I did a film like Mubaraka in which I have to talk to myself for 60 minutes, and to do a double role talking to yourself, the kind of VFX we tried to achieve, the kind of energy the film needed. So every film had its own share of, like for Farrar, I did 3 months of prep to learn the dialogue. So every film had its hard work. I think somewhere I got messages from my audience saying that they're not happy with the way I'm looking. And I heard it, I understood it, but I didn't react to it because I kept saying, "Main kar lunga." It sort of felt like, you know, when you look at yourself, you're like, okay, I'm a few kgs away. I've lost 50 kgs in the past. I'll do it again. Let the right film come and you see what I do. And I think that was a little naive on my part. I didn't take it for granted. I didn't say कि मुझे नहीं lose करना. It was not like a middle finger to the world and saying, you know, I'm like this, take it or leave it. But I always felt कि ugly film. But then I kept taking on so much work कि वो ugly film के बीच में time नहीं मिला कभी. And I never worked towards it. See, working hard in your profession is one thing. You have to work hard to take care of yourself. And I think I took my health for granted. I took my audience a little bit for granted, saying that they're understanding where I'm coming from. I'm still giving a good film, right? But the indication was there between Half Girlfriend and Mubaraka. You know, Half Girlfriend opened at 10 and then Mubaraka was at about 5. And I was like, okay, I get it. But the fact that they've not gone on the first day to see the film means they're not as interested or excited by me right now, despite 2 months earlier having a film that they went to see on the first day. So I understood the message. I honestly didn't react fast enough to it. So I don't think I took it for granted. I think my reaction came only post lockdown, when I introspected a lot and where it hit me that I have to do this. I can't run away from it. Yeah. So yeah. I don't take them for granted. I don't take my work for granted. I work as hard as the next person and I'm not comparing. I'm very, very dedicated to my profession. I respect my audience. I want them to like my work. And and it's not about them loving only me.
Yeah.
I'm not selfish. I'm not somebody who tom-toms about how good I'm the first guy who did 100 crores in my generation. You've never seen a PR article about it. I was asked this question 4 days back and I was like, shit, yeah, that is true. And it's in a very unconventional film. But the credit goes to the entire film, not to me alone. I've done all kinds of work without ever taking it for granted because I love my audience. I want them to value me. And people that don't like me also will like me if I work hard enough and convert them, like Farrar for that matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, hota hai yaar, when you're in this profession, you know, you have an impulse and an instinct and you back yourself and you start out and then the world happens around you and you put on a race, you're compared, you're told by people what to do and subconsciously your mind starts diverting into following what people say.
Yeah.
And you think this is how the audience would want to see me versus you being an audience.
True.
and backing yourself in doing stuff that you like.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm the same actor who's done an Anis Bazmi film like Mubarak and done Sandeep or Pinky Farrar in the same time.
Exactly.
So, I'm not somebody who's not working hard, and I think I'm convincing in both films. So yeah, I think the physical part of it makes a difference in this country especially because we have to pay big bucks to watch, and you're obviously being compared to your contemporaries and to yourself from the past. Right?
Yeah.
So perhaps I was taking it for granted that my audience understands that I'm going through a health issue or that I've not been able to put myself into that position. But I've learned that I can't expect them to understand what I'm going through because they are paying big money to come and watch me.
That's true. That's true. No, but I have to say this, that your recent transformation, and for somebody who's battled body issues, I'm very proud of you because you are an inspiration. You genuinely inspire people like me, and so many out there who look at it.
Thank you.
Does today Arjun, when he goes on set, like you said, the script is perfect, it works for you, but there is something that goes amiss between the script till the shoot. Kuch ho jata, and that's when the film starts going down.
Yeah.
Does Arjun know when he lands up on a set that, hey, this is not going the way it should be going?
Yeah, you can sense it.
So you've got this of it that you start sensing it.
Yeah, after a few films, you start understanding.
Yeah. But then how do you act upon that? Like, do you walk up to your director and say, hey, buddy?
You've made a commitment to do the film, so you can't be difficult about it. You can try and be collaborative about it. You can have conversations with your producer, with your director. You can try and give your feedback.
Yeah.
You can sit down and try and thrash it out. And you can try and understand why the film is being made the way it is versus the way it was spoken or imagined. Today, because I think I've had some more perspective on seeing failure along with success, I'm able to confront it far more easily with the people I'm working with. When I was successful and I was not dealing with too much of failure, you used to just go with the flow.
Yeah.
So today I can sit down and have an honest conversation and I can put my thoughts across. But I will never ever interfere beyond that. And I'm not the kind of person who will say, I told you so. Because then that's up to the audience. If they like something, then you're like, okay, I was wrong. If they don't like it, then you know that that you were right, that you were feeling something is amiss. But you got to go with the conviction of makers most of the time here. I mean, see, today when I did a film like Key and Ka, Balki sir was known for Pa Chini Kam. His tonality was very different. He had just done Shamita before that.
Yeah.
Key and Ka could have been made with that same tonality of Chini Kam and Pa, where it was a little more subtle, nuanced, little treated in a way where it is a backhanded way of. But he wanted to make a fun film.
Yeah.
He wanted it to be front foot without being caricaturish.
Yeah.
He wanted to speak about it because he wanted to entertain people while telling the thought. He didn't want to put people into a serious frame of mind. Now, when I signed the film, I imagined Balki, the maker who made Pa and Chini Kam and Shamita. What I got was a man making a film where he's having a blast and making a rom-com to entertain audiences and get the message across through that.
Yeah.
And I did take a beat and I said, you know what? I have full conviction in that thought. I said yes to that film because every boy grows up wanting to be like their father. What if a boy grew up wanting to be like their mother? Yeah. That thought is strong enough, and I feel this man is somebody who's done enough work to know how to put it and make it palatable. So I said, you know what, let's go with the conviction. And it worked.
It worked wonders.
So sometimes you just got to go with the conviction of a maker also.
That's true. No, but today when you sit back, you've like you said, you've seen the highs, the lows, all of that. Okay. Is Arjun happy?
Very. On all accounts, the way I feel about myself, the journey that I look back at, I've been very fortunate that I've been accepted by the audience since my first film. I've never had to try and dig my heels into getting attention. Mentally, physically, emotionally, I think I'm very close to the way I was during Ishaq Zada. I'm hopefully a little more sorted and learned out of it. I am happy, but I also feel I've got this fire in my belly to do so much more now, but I need to pace myself. I think my realization is that I was running a rat race, which is pretty irrelevant because it's very temporary to be number one, number two, number three. It's very fluid, right? Friday to Friday, things are changing. And now more than ever. So it's important to just be happy doing what you're doing, and you should say yes to work that you want to do versus what you're expected to do. So there is a fire in my belly. I'm happy about the place I'm at and the work I'm doing. And I think for somebody like me, the future is as good as what I make of it because I know I'm sensible enough to make better choices and I plan to do that.
Perfect. But thank you so much on that note.
Thank you.
Wishing you all the very best.
Thank you
like
so
I said,
much.
I am looking forward to everything that you're doing.
So am I.
In the past, I think in the past 3 projects, Arjun Kapoor has pushed the envelope at least more than he has before, and I can see that as an audience.
I mean, I think between Farrar, Bhoot Police, there's a starting point of people enjoying my work again. I would want them to come to the theatres and enjoy Ek Villain Returns, because I really am excited about how Mohit has presented me. And I want to know what the feedback is from people. And whether it's Kutte or Lady Killer, both films are very special to me and very personal. Like I've got on a whim and chosen material that I feel is really unique and different. So I'm fingers crossed. I think let's start with Ek Villain and see how it goes.
For sure. But on that note, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Keep killing it, and I'm going to see you supremely soon.
Yes,
keep killing it.
For Ek Villain Returns.
Yes, keep killing it.
Thanks.
And it's a wrap.